Welcome to the CEN show, a platform where we learn from the world community. I am your regular host, Rasaki Mascani, and on the panel this evening, we have Miss Cal Odom, we have Miss Cleo King, we got Brother Hembrick, Brother Mashinda, and we have a guest host this evening, Dr. Randolph, Dr. Shari Randolph. This is probably her fourth time coming, and she always do an excellent job. And I'm always relieved when she come on because it gives me a break. So welcome, Dr. Randolph. You can go ahead and get started and do what you do.
Good evening. Thank you, Rasaki. Tonight, we are going to talk about just the number one thing. It's what people have prayed for. The people desire this. They want to be in great health. And so tonight I've invited Jason the Guru. That's what I've named him myself. And I'll tell you a little bit about him and he'll tell you a little more about himself. We met several years ago under the direction of Cleo King at the Love History workshop. And I met him there as an actor and soon found out that he was a trainer and a health guru. When we traveled to St. Louis, we happened to be roommates in the same house, and Jason was there cooking for us. So he's a nutritionist, and since becoming a father, he's taken another direction. He's completed his bachelor's degree in industrial technology. He can share a little bit about that, but becoming a father, he's become a grandfather. Grand on its own. Just like he's a guru in nutrition, he's taken fathering to the top level, and he can share about that. It was interesting listening to him and Rasaki speak before we came on, just about what the importance is and the responsibility of becoming a father. And so now he also does commercial roofing. Please welcome Jason Holmes to the show, everyone.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here always, Dr. Shari, and good to see you, Cleo. Miss Cleo, excuse me. I was raised right. But yeah, we were talking about fatherhood. Yeah, that's kind of the route I am in now. I have a 1.5-year-old, but before that, I was in nutrition and health and wellness for almost 22 years. It's something that kind of just naturally came to me when it came to my athleticism. So I was an athlete since I was a little kid, all the way through college and after college. And what I found is when I was playing sports, I was 220. I was a big guy. Now I'm like 180, 185, around that range. And I realized once I stopped playing sports, I had a lot of weight on me that wasn't necessary and was a little much too for my height and my size. It was too much. And so I went on this journey. I started working at GNC when I was 20 years old. And that was kind of the first time I ever started to train, because when you're working at GNC, they have you go on the computer and you got to learn about nutrition and supplements and all these things. And so that was the first time I started looking at ingredients. The biggest thing I could say about that, just kind of diving into it, is understand what you're putting in your mouth. Ingredients, especially in America, because sad to say, America is corporate America. And because it's corporate, it's about the bottom line. And when companies start to grow and they start to scale up, first thing to go is the quality of the ingredient, because when you have quality ingredients, it costs more. And so to cut costs and increase profits, they look to how can they add the thing called fillers. Fillers are things that will literally, what it sounds like, it fills volume and it's not necessarily quality. And so because of that, it makes it not as nutritious, which causes all kinds of things in the body. And so like the number one thing I could say just right off the bat is read what you're eating. And if there is a paragraph of what you're eating on the back of whatever label that is, it probably got some things in there that you shouldn't be eating. And another thing is everybody's different. So there's not one solution for everybody, but there is an overall solution, which is you got to move, which is kind of the topic of today, at least starting now, is movement. What are you doing? Is it walking? Are you swimming in a pool? If you're afraid to get in a pool, how are you moving? As we get older, it's better to be in things that have support So walking in sand is amazing to do if you have that ability, or walking in a pool is amazing to do. And if you can't do either one of those, walk on some grass. And if you really can, if you want to get a little more into it, you can walk barefoot on some grass. That's a great way of grounding. That's talking more of an energetic, but that also to me is in the full encompassing of wellness. I call it mind, body, and spirit. You can have a physically looking healthy body, but a physically or an emotionally or and spiritually ill body or ill spirit. And distinguishing between those, I think, is really important to understand. It's not just one thing, it's a full body. And we were talking last time I was here when I was just listening on, talking about what are you digesting? What is your diet? And that diet is emotional, physically, spiritually, and food, of course.
Okay, well, now let's get in it. When I left work today, I was compelled to go to the ocean, and I didn't know you were going to add in the water and the sand, but I said, this must be a connection that I'm feeling like go to the ocean before I go home. And I did that. And now you're saying walking on the sand and the grounding. And I'm sitting here at my desk on a grounding mat to stay grounded. But I want to jump in and the wealth that you brought to your family when your dad got ill, and that was a full circle moment because it started with a dream. Can you tell the audience about that experience and now how your father is trying to share the healthy information as well?
Absolutely. So, like I said, I started at GNC and I kind of just kept on that track of learning and always just going and acquiring knowledge. And I got to a point where I had some pretty good knowledge and it was going against what his doctors were telling him. And so he had a hard time listening to me. And I was like, you know what, Dad? It is what it is. If you're willing to listen, I have this information and here you go if you want it. And he wouldn't listen. He ended up getting prostate cancer. And it was a hard hit for our whole family. It was, and my father's the way he dropped it just randomly. Oh, by the way, I have this. And so it was just like a really heavy moment. And so he did hormone therapy and radiation. And when he did the hormone therapy, the whole idea or premise of hormone therapy for prostate cancer for men, especially in African Americans, it's higher. And so it is to drop your testosterone levels to almost to zero. And I had a dream, and I was doing I don't know much about if you guys know much about dream work, but I was doing dream work, and I had a dream that told me it was an inspiration to talk to now it's a time to talk to my father. And so when I talked to him, he actually was receptive. In hindsight, realizing that all his testosterone dropped, he was more emotionally available. And I didn't know that at the time, but that was something that was actually present right in front of me that was just intuitively understood by my spirit. And so when I shared that information with him, he actually heard me, which was a shock to me because I've been trying since I was 21 and he got prostate cancer 8 years ago. I'm now about to be 42 this year. And so it was a long journey before he would listen to me. It was a lot of me banging my head. And actually, it was a beautiful lesson for me as the one with the wisdom to, you know what, if you're not ready, you're not ready. And I can't save anybody, period. And I can't help anybody that doesn't want to help themselves. And so it was a beautiful lesson for me on my side. Then it was a beautiful lesson for my father to be able to actually hear me. And it created a bond where him and I would say, yes, he's my father, but he's a brother in arms. We speak the same language with different accents. And it's a beautiful culmination of what we got to. And then fast forward, once he kind of took those steps and started changing his life, he started to understand why I was telling him all these things. Because he'll be like, these funny stories will be like, you know, son, I heard on Dr. Oz that they were talking about, what'd you talk? Yeah, it was that. Yeah, they were talking about it on Dr. Oz. And I was like, Dad, I told you that 15 years ago, you know? And so it was this long, just a process. Everybody's on their different journey. And that was part of his process. Well, fast forward to now, he's healthy, and he has 4 other brothers and sisters, and they're the same family. But if you look at a picture, you can see the noticeable difference in the choices they made when it came to nutrition. And now he has this information, he's trying to share it, and now he is where I was getting frustrated. Like, why are they not listening? Like, look, I'm doing the things, it's working, but they don't want to listen. And that goes back to, it really is important to understand if you're willing to take the information or you're not, but be honest with yourself, because in the end, only you put the food in your mouth. And it's an important responsibility to take ownership of, because then that empowers you to make a change and not look outside of yourself for the change.
Well, I like what you said about the process, the 15 years. So you never gave up on your dad. Now your dad is not giving up. And during the years when he wasn't doing that, we could look at you and you practice what you preach. So when we were there in St. Louis and you were cooking for us, it was an experience that we had, vegan, clean food. So can you talk about words that we see like organic and natural? This week, Chick-fil-A is changing the chicken they buy. They used to, advertise that they had clean chicken, organic, and no antibiotics. And now they're saying that there's a supply chain. You talked about the supply chain order, that they have a supply chain issue, and now they will be changing the chicken that they have available at Chick-fil-A.
Well, I mean, before they even made this change, to me, that's them covering. So there's liability lawsuits that they're going to be able to avoid. Because if you would, before they even made this change, look at the ingredients. I think it's 62 or 40, I can't remember the number, but it's above 35, I know that, of ingredients in their chicken sandwich. If you talk about oils, the oils they use, that's a huge one. Oil and what type you use can highly dictate what type of inflammation you have in your body. Now, I say this all with a grain of salt, as in not one thing works for everybody, but and do your own research, because it is important to do your own research, because no matter what I say, it's important to get your blood work done. It's important to go get checked out. It's important to know your mineral levels. It's important to understand your oxygen levels, and what type of blood you are. What blood type are you? Because in the end, these ingredients will affect people differently. Because there's people who smoke their whole life and they live to like 90 years old. Like, how is that even possible? And then someone dies at 60. Well, there's other factors that go into it, but I always say it's important to give yourself the best step forward. And so understanding, like, for example, you're talking about Chick-fil-A. There's so many ingredients in there that are not of anything that's natural. And you're saying they're switching. Well, they've already had bad ingredients, just like any other fast food place. It's rare that I eat out because of that. And it's sad because I live in LA and there's so many restaurants, there's so many things here. But for the most part, they all use seed oils. And if you want to look into seed oils and look into seed oils and inflammation and the comparison to the two and how they're intertwined. Any type of seed oil, cottonseed oil, saffron oil, sunflower seed oil, all these oils that are easy, peanut oil, palm oil being one of the biggest ones. And they even say organic palm oil. Well, it's still palm oil. It's still a seed oil. And seed oils cause a lot of inflammation. So being mindful of what oils you use. Me personally, for my own personal opinion, I use either ghee butter, I use avocado oil, or tallow. Tallow is a very old school. Maybe like your grandparents used to use it.
Yes.
Native Americans used it all the time. I've always looked at cultures. My own deep dive, I started looking around the world of what cultures had healthy qualities and why they didn't have certain things in their body. Like, for instance, in India, there's not as much heart disease. Well, they have a lot of turmeric and curcumin. And I was like, okay, what is this? What is their staple in their diet? And so I started looking into that. And I was like, oh, if you have a little bit of that every day, it's a natural anti-inflammatory, especially if you get it at high quality turmeric. And simple things like that. Why is the Mediterranean diet so good? Why is that? Why is there a lot? They call it the blue zones. Why is that happening? Well, you can look back at their culture that has implemented these things throughout their history, and it's why they don't have certain things. So it's important to understand not just one area, but look around. Like, we are all examples for each other. And if you dive into that, you can start seeing that there are simple ways to make simple changes. How many colors do you eat on a day? Every color has a certain nutrition fact about it. And how rich is the color? If you go to the grocery store and all your vegetables look like dull reds or dull yellows, they're not vibrant, they're probably lacking a lot of nutrients. And sad to say, we're getting to a place now where our soil is so depleted, even if you are eating vegetables, they're not nutrient dense. And so that becomes, what type of farm are you going to? And they're like, who has the place to even farm? So it's like all these things are starting to play because in the end, consumerism, money, bottom line is $1. So are you planting your own herbs? Do you have space to even put it on? Like they have hydroponics that go vertical now. So you don't even have to have a lot of land. You can do it in small areas, but it does require you to put effort into it. Just like anything in life, whatever your profession is, it required effort. Your body, your temple should be the number one. I always say, like, if you had your dream car, would you put 87 gas in it? Like, I mean, I'll keep it simple. Why would you not take care of that?
Well, one thing I know about the soil, George Washington Carver, he's who even helped bring some of the nutrients back into the soil with the planting of the peanuts. And you talked about the blue zone. So this is a dual question. Speak more on the soil and the type of soil that you have to have, because that's a conversation. Even if you grow at home, you have to have rich soil to bring in the nutrients. And and people can plant, but like you said, it takes effort. But we talked about what I call couch potatoism, that if you have couch potatoism and you're saying you have to get up and move, what can you say to motivate us to get up and move? Because if the people that live in the blue zones, they walk to the grocery store, they make groceries, like they say down south, like we're going to make groceries, and they come back and they're carrying the bags. They're moving every day. The people in the blue zone are walking every day. They're farming, they're outside working in their garden, they're moving to, they're going to make groceries, like I said, the people in the South did. So how could you motivate us to get up and go?
Well, I'll ask you the question: what type of quality of life do you want? What you're here. You've been blessed with a single fingerprint. No one else has it. What are you doing? Why are you here? What are you worth living for? What is your dream? What causes you to get up? If you can't answer that question, then we got to go. It's beyond just I like to eat fast food or this. There is a rooted emotional connection to that. And it has nothing to do with the food. It has everything to do with your mental state and your psyche and what traumas you're carrying and are resisting and whatever. Like I have a beautiful one of my mentors. What you resist persists.
Yes.
And if you're not having I call this courageous conversations. If you're not willing to have a courageous conversation with yourself to why you're choosing that, then there's nothing I could say, because I can't save or motivate anybody. I can be an inspiration, or I can be a spark. But when it comes down to it, that spark will flicker unless you ignite it yourself. And it's important to understand you got to find your reason to your why. And if that requires you to be in a community, join a community. Community is a beautiful thing. That's one of the reasons I'm on here right now, is because I think we have Dr. Shari, Miss Cleo, we have a beautiful community that we share. We have our prayers that we be praying up people, because it's really
healing people. Yes.
Thank you. It's beautiful.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes.
Because it's a real visceral thing that we can connect to, and that not just gives hope, but gives results, and because we are better and stronger together than alone. And in that light, we are all here to help each other. But when it comes down to it, you're laying your head by yourself. No one's with you more than you. And so when you're in that moment of weakness, what is your hinge point? What have you done internal work to be able to have the fortitude to say, you know what, today is the day that I'm not going to have that so-and-so. Today is the day that I'm going to do so-and-so. And then have a friend that you can hold yourself accountable to. If it's too hard to do it alone, have a friend that is also wanting to change. And if you have all your friends are the ones pulling you down, then you should look into your circle and understand, why have you chose to be in a space where you're not growing? And if you're okay with that, then you must be okay with the results. And if that's the life you chose, then by all means, there's no wrong for me to say that's wrong. It's just understand what you're doing. And if you're okay with that, then by all means.
Well, in your path, you started out at GNC. And so at the 220 and now you're 180, a lot of people want to be there, like the 40 pounds down, whatever it was. So what was your process of coming from GNC, learning about the nutrition, and then getting into the workout?
Yeah, well, and to me, it was being a father. Going back to what we were talking before we even started, I knew that I wanted to be a father later in life because I knew I had things that I wanted to learn. And I had family members and cousins that I saw had kids young. My sister had a kid very young, but it actually for her, it motivated her to become an RN. But for me, I knew I wanted to go explore, and there was things coming from I'm from San Luis Obispo, which is a small town. It's a bubble. You don't really get to experience a lot of things outside of that. And so because of that, I knew that I wanted to go and learn about self and life and get experience outside of that so I can then pass that on. Because one of the beautiful things that my father told me and his father told him was, I hope you better the family more than I was able to. And I hope you tell your kids the same thing. And that's something that we pass down in our family because that's the truth. I
amazing.
saw my dad was able to provide a family, a house for the first time, own the house and outright paid. He's retired, living a great life, and he's able to pass all that down to the family. I knew for me, at least coming from the African American side, that there was a lot of turbulence that I had with society, how I was treated, how I was viewed, knowing that's not who I am internally. But I had all these outside sources trying to pigeonhole me or contain me into this one thing. And so I knew I needed to go outside and understand how to stand within myself. And so I knew I wanted to go out and live life and not have kids early because I wanted to be able to pass down and not pass down so much trauma, be able to not pass down so many triggers to where my kids having to deal with the stuff that I wasn't willing to deal with. And so I waited. And that's why I went on this journey. I knew I needed to understand spirituality. I knew I needed to go understand nutrition. I knew I needed to understand physicality. And I was instilled with family already because that was given to me. And that just is something that either you have the integrity to walk with or you don't. And that's something you have to then work towards if you're willing. Not everybody's willing, but I'm truly God willing to do.
That's amazing. And you're still very young and you've come to these ideas and thoughts that you're sharing with the audience. And you talked about community, and I want to get Cleo King to chime in now on community and how we all came together. And what are your thoughts on community and some of the things that Jason sharing so far? You're muted.
Did I unmute? Can you hear me? Okay,
yes,
great.
We can hear you now.
Awesome. I had no idea I would be speaking tonight. I adore Jason. I adore you. I just love good information. There's nothing like great information. And for me, that's what's important. And community is everything. I'm the type of person, I find what works for me and then I do it. And it has to be in my own time. Like, hearing what Jason said, he said, if you don't want that quality of life, then, I can't motivate you. I can't do it. Like for me, I have done, I know it's an anonymity program, but I have done the 12-step work for many years. I know you guys have heard about Overeaters Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Nicotine Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. Like you've heard of all that stuff. And I have been a part of Overeaters Anonymous, and it has been life-changing for me. And when we talk about, what motivates us, when you talk about self-love in the Black community, right? It's one thing, but we talk about food more and the taste of food more. Like I'm willing to share with you where the food is so good, where the food is so good. I'm willing to share that with you more than self-love, more than, I got to my body weight. This is a healthy body weight for me. This is where I've always wanted to be. And even in the Black community, people say, well, honey, she done got too thin. She too small. She look funny. She done lost all that weight that she look funny now. She just look funny. Her head is way bigger than her body. But we will tell you where the chicken wings are. We will tell you where the mac and cheese is. We will tell you all of that stuff. And one thing for me is in that 12 steps, step number 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And a lot of people think, well, I don't want to bug God with my food and with I don't want to take that to God. That stuff I ought to be able to do on my own. And what we learned in the 12 step is that we've got to make a decision that I don't want to be fat. I don't want to have high blood pressure. I don't want to have diabetes, and I don't want to have high cholesterol. You know, it's one of those things. We have to make a decision. And once you make a decision, you know, I want to look good in my clothes. Sometimes that's not good enough in the Black community. It's just not. And when you are surrounded by people and you see other people doing great, a lot of people are happy for you, but they just care more about the taste, where you can get the food and where you can eat more of what it is that you really, really want. So it's really important to surround yourself with people who are doing the right thing. Because if I don't know nothing else, birds of a feather, right? And that's what I know. And that's why, you know, it took me a long time, even working with Jason, it took me years to get my head right. But I'm still willing to do the work. And I'm not where I want to be, but I'm definitely not where I used to be. You
Oh,
know,
yes.
I'm not 350 pounds anymore. I'm not there anymore. I am at a decent, healthy body weight. And there's still room to grow. And I'm still doing the work. I had a workout today. You know, we did a great workout today. So for me, I'm willing to do the work because I know I get the results. And if nothing else, Jason has helped me with that. And also, I made a decision that I didn't want to do all of this other stuff. And so, if I don't know nothing else, birds of a feather, and we have to do the work. And I know if we do the work, we get the results. And then for me, like if you go to Weight Watchers, that's one thing. But if you go to Overeaters Anonymous, 12-step program, Nicotine Anonymous, all that stuff's free. It's free. It's free. You get help. It's free. It's not like Weight Watchers where you have to pay every time you go. They put you on the scale. You got to get weighed. I'll never forget. I went to a Weight Watchers meeting. All the women had on spandex. They took their shoes off. They took their bras off. They took everything off. I was the only one sitting there with, excuse me, with shoes on. I had clothes on. I had on full on clothes, and they were looking at me like, "Oh, her weight gonna be out of control." Her weight gonna be out of control. Why is she in all these clothes? Because they trying to lose the weight. Because if you weigh in and you haven't lost weight, you have to pay more. Whereas
Wow.
when you're in 12-step program, there's no fee. You don't have to pay anything. It's free help. Okay. Gamblers Anonymous, free help, Nicotine Anonymous, on and on and on. So, birds of a feather, I'm grateful I'm willing to do the work today because I get the results. And this is a gift that nobody else can give me. Nobody else can give me the gift of healthy, clean eating. Today, I am a vegetarian. I'm working really hard to be a vegan. I'm trying to give up that butter. I'm trying to give up the eggs. I'm trying to give up the cheese. But other than that, I eat vegan at least 50% of the time and I feel incredible. I am old. I look young, but I'm old and I feel great. I got the discount at the grocery store today, the senior discount. The lady gave us the senior discount. And I am happy about that because I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work. So I will continue to do the work. Thank you, Jason. It was wonderful hearing you. Dr. Shari, it's always wonderful to be a part of anything you're doing because I know I'm going to learn something. So just for today, I'm grateful.
Well, I'm grateful that you were on this evening with Jason. And I know Jason is a part of that process and the weight loss process that you had because he had been your trainer for a while. And I know
Years.
You're backing away from training so much, Jason. I know you kept a few of your clients now that you're doing the roofing, but just talk about working with clients. Like, how did you embrace being a trainer and working with clients and helping them through processes of dropping weight? And I'm very happy to be a part of this community because, as you mentioned earlier, just a little bit about our acting community has become a prayer community, especially through COVID, and we've been praying for people, and that's been changing for them. So one of your training is even embracing change, like how you embrace change to look for better health and to look to be in a healthier body, or to love yourself enough to embrace the change. But you being a trainer, you've encouraged people to do that.
What I see, like I said, I've been training for a while. I did it for, like I said, almost 22 years. And what I noticed is people have a way, like I call it a word. They have their empowering word, and everybody's word, some are similar, some could be the same, but it's all uniquely to them. And so what I find is it's important to have compassion, coming from the trainer side. It's important to have compassion and have a good ear to hear what's actually being said. And I kind of use what my dad told me about relationships when it came to me having a wife and our girlfriends growing up. It was understand the subtext, not the context. Because if you can understand the subtext of a person, you can then hit their heart. And if you can touch or hit their heart, then you can really reach them and you get actually impactful and empowering change. A lot, if you're not in that space and you're just stuck in the context, you're going to get stuck with some trainers that you probably didn't like or trainers that can't connect. Not every trainer is for everybody. I'm not a trainer that's like, I'm not a cheerleader trainer. As I call them cheerleader trainers because I'm not one to be like, yeah, let's like, I don't know. Let's work. We're here to make you better. If you need a cheerleader, go hire a cheerleader. If you want someone to really be honest with you and work with you and say, hey, look, this is what I see. And if this resonates with you, then amazing. If it doesn't, then there's plenty of people out here. I've always been very much so, this is what I present. This is who I am. And let's work together.
Pardon me.
What's that?
Jason.
Yes, sir.
Can you put what you said in layman's term? Because some people may understand that. When you're talking about the subcontext, what were you saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I hear what you're saying. Thank you for that. A little more in depth of that. If somebody is just for example, just off the top of my head, if we're doing a rep and somebody starts crying or somebody starts coming at me like, oh, I don't want to do this, get defensive. I'm not going to take it personal. I'm like, oh, they're yelling at me. There's something underneath that needs to be addressed if we want to get past this. Whenever I look at it this way, if you're in a conversation and in the conversation you're coming from here, and all of a sudden the energy from the other person is up here coming at you defensively, aggressively, whatever it may be, I know that there's a disconnect. And if I'm coming from a place that's not anything other than here to help and show up, and they're coming at me a certain way, then I know there's something underneath that. And so I'm going to look to how do we address that with not making them feel called out, not making them feel that they're doing anything wrong, but no, hey, I'm on your side and I'm here to help. And so I look to understand not what they're saying, but what's the reason what's behind what they're saying, what's behind what is coming out. Because when people get angry, it could be because they're in a lot of pain. But the first thing comes out as a defense is anger. So what is that pain going on? What is it that's hindering you, that's causing you to, if we're talking about overweight, what is it that's got you to this point? There's some type of pain or some type of emotion that's tied to eating that makes you feel better, that's better than feeling the feeling. And so the context is I'm sitting here, I'm angry, but the subtext is I'm having a lot of pain about this certain issue in my life that I'm not willing to address. And so I'm going to eat. I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to beat. I'm going to do something that pulls me, that keeps me in the context and not in the subtext.
So the underlying, is that the trauma that you mentioned earlier? Could it be the trauma that people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a lot of times what I do find is I get a lot of people crying in my sessions, and it's not because we just did something hard. It's because we faced something that they've been neglecting for a while, which is the whole reason we're here in the first place. I like to bring a spiritual sense to my training. And from that, I feel that it creates a container that allows people to be vulnerable. And I think that's really important, whether you're by yourself working out or with a trainer, that you find a safe space to express. And sometimes that expression isn't just physical, it's emotional. And if you're willing to be emotionally available, which to me is the trainer's responsibility, to create a container that is safe. And when that happens, stuff comes up, which is the subtext, because we live in context all the time. We don't, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Well, that's just that's a reflex. That's not truly what you're feeling, but that's just kind of how we kind of allow society to be. We don't really speak on how we're truly feeling. We just, oh, I'm good. but there's a whole lot behind I'm good if you're really honest and open with it.
I had a student and I invited her to an event and she says, "Oh, I don't want anything to do with working out." And she's really heavy for a ninth grader, and she wants nothing to do with working out. And I've heard other students say things like, "I don't want to sweat. I don't want to do anything where I sweat." And is that a trauma? Is that, how do I reach that student that's saying, if it has to do with sweating, if it has to do with working out, I don't want to do it?
Well, I would ask, where do you see yourself going? If you continue this path, who is that girl? You're talking about a girl. So who is that girl when she becomes a woman, when she's 27, 28, 30, 40? If you continue this path, what do you think that outcome will look like? I would just try to, for me personally, I always try to get perspective. Why she's like that? I mean, I would have to speak with her one-on-one to understand exactly why she's like that, or at least have an idea to wrap my head around. But a lot of times it comes from at-home trauma, or a lack of a parent, or a death of a parent, or a sexual experience that wasn't wanted. Like there's things that happen to where they don't want to feel as a woman womanly because maybe she had a trauma that had to do with that. And now she doesn't want anything to do with that. So she gains weight, so she won't be appealing in her own eyes. I don't know. I can't speak on more than what you're sharing with me. But there is some type of an emotional connection to being healthy or to sweating. Somebody somewhere shamed her for something and she's masked that.
Okay.
What that may be, yeah.
Follow up with questions when we come back after the break. Rasiki, we're here. We have a panel tonight.
Yes.
And are you ready to include the panel? Yes.
Okay, yes, I will. Okay.
I'm enjoying this conversation, Jason.
Oh, it's excellent.
Likewise.
But yeah, very, very well stated and presented. So the lady with the iPhone, I don't have a name for you.
Marquette. Marquette. That's
okay. Yeah. Do you have a question, comment?
Yes. Eating for your blood type. So I would just look that information up because I know my blood type. And so I know I'm A positive. And so I would just go by that list when I look it up, or try to adhere to the list till I'm able to incorporate most of it into my daily lifestyle.
Yeah, there's a lot of books. There's literally a book called Eating for Your Blood Type, and it gives you a broad general like brushstroke of the different blood types and types of food. Like O blood is amazing for meat, but A might not necessarily be. And it's something.
I'm A positive.
Yeah, so there's something. So you should look into what actually is good for your blood type. And they have the general book, and then they have each book specifically for the specific blood type. And they also have a diet plan in the back of the book, or I think it might be in the front. I'm not for sure, I forgot now, but I think it might be in the back. But yeah, and that's the simple thing and above all, understand, are you getting minerals in your diet? What type of salt are you using? Because if you go to Africa and look at the plains of all the animals, like you can learn a lot from animals. There's animals in plains when they go where there's a water source, but they won't drink the water because of a certain mineral that's in it, or they will drink it, or that's why there's salt. Like if you look at the elephants, they'll drink water, but then they go and dig for salt because they need those minerals. There you go. Thank you. Exactly. That's exactly the book. So so that's one of them. And then they have specifically each individual blood type as well. That's exactly the one.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you. And I just had a ankle reconstructive surgery, so I'm like immobile for I would say for the next 2 months. I'll be immobile.
for you, we're willing to. I can share some more things with you specifically.
Okay.
Mineralization, your calcium levels. So CMOS. CMOS is amazing. It's amazing. Make sure it's good quality. St. Lucas. Some Irish sea mosses are pretty good. Some of the Jamaican sea mosses are really good. I like Seychelles or St. Croix has some out there, but like just do some research. You want high quality sea moss. The best, cheapest way to do it is to get it dry and make it yourself. It's super simple. You just soak it, blend it, add spring water. Very simple. You can flavor it with, you add some orange juice to it. See, pineapple juice. You can make it taste better. To me, I have it plain. Or if like during the flu season or cold season, I'll do it with elderberry. So I have my 1.5-year-old on sea moss since she was 6 months old. She has all her teeth are already in. She's already speaking Armenian and English. There's a lot of development things. The brain needs high, especially as developing like that. They need good fat. She only does ghee butter. She only does. I do have her doing fish oils. That like what our great grandparents cod liver oil. That's one of the old. There's a reason they were giving that to us. It's all these old liver. Not everybody wants to eat liver or organ meat. Some people are like we're saying. Some people are vegan, so they don't eat it. But there's a lot of minerals that you need to get in your body when you get older. A lot of people they're dying from being malnutrition. Yet all these as you're older, you're taking all these vitamins and all these things. But why is it not remineralizing or getting the vitamins into your body? Why is that not happening? Now you're gonna start talking about the gut. The gut is also just as important as knowing, if not more important than knowing your blood type, because your gut is what allows you to absorb things. So as you get older, when they call it a distended gut or a non-working gut, that means you're no longer absorbing minerals. So no matter how much you take, it's not going to absorb in your body, and especially for you because you're healing. It's really important to understand your gut bacteria. There's to be very general and broad about it. There are two types. If you want to make a divide center line, there's gut bacteria that is off of sugar, and there's gut bacteria that's off of plant fiber or cellulose. And understanding what has more, and it's always a battle. And if you have more of the plant fiber and you starve the sugar, they overtake, and that's the healthy gut. Some easy things. So if you look at, it's called inulin, inulin, INLUIN, inulin. It is a plant fiber. It is one of the best things to help your gut absorb. It's what feeds. So, and think of it this way: you're not eating it for you. You're eating it for your gut. You're for the bacteria in your gut. That's why you're eating that. It has nothing to do with you. You actually have more gut bacteria than you do human cells. It's a crazy thing to think about, but you're more bacteria than human cells.
So that's inulin,
INLUIN, if I'm correct. Inulin.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see it right now.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Inulin. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you.
Just type it in.
Yeah, that is a great start. Simple things that have it: artichokes, Jerusalem artichoke, which is also called a sunchoke. Onions have it. Those are just 3 quick ones off the top of my head right now. Dandelion greens are amazing. Dandelion green tea, great for your liver. You can use dandelion root as a coffee substitute. That's what my wife was drinking when she was pregnant, because Armenians love coffee, and she was drinking her coffee. She didn't. I was like, please don't drink coffee while you're. I mean, you can, but I was like, please don't. And so I was like, hey, use this. This is a nice little substitute. It doesn't no caffeine, but just as far as taste, So you can do it that way, or have a little bit of that with your coffee to kind of dilute your coffee, but still have that taste and still get a little bit of caffeine.
Okay.
But yeah, so plant fiber is really important because you're feeding the good bacteria, not the bad bacteria. Starve the bad, feed the good. You starve the bad, they die. You feed the good, they grow. And the good thing about your gut is they live and die on a really fast cycle. So you can have dramatic change really quick, and you'll notice a difference. And then, yeah, that would be my 3 things I would tell you: sea moss, the plant fiber, and make sure you start really working on your gut.
Okay, I got it written down. I'm gonna start doing that tomorrow.
Please.
I'm gonna order me some dandelion tea and some
That's
dandelion
great.
root.
Just be mindful. Don't do it every day. Like these are all just suggestions. Just understand these are all suggestions. Don't do your research. Don't do anything too long. On and off.
Okay.
Cycle everything on and off. Only thing I wouldn't cycle, for me personally, I wouldn't cycle is minerals.
Okay.
And then when you start doing this, I would say get your blood tests. Go to a doctor, get checked up. Go do a blood test. see where your levels are. Do this for a month. See where your levels are. If you're going to
Okay,
start making
thank you.
changes in your life, track it. It's really important because if you're not tracking, we have a tendency not to want to look at these things or whatever for fear or whatever it may be. Take ownership, drive the ship. As Miss Cleo said, you better drive your bus. You better drive it.
That's right. That's right.
That's
You know,
excellent.
so
I'm almost a daily CMOS user. As a matter of fact, I make it. So
exactly.
Yeah.
anybody ever want some, talk to me. All right.
Yes, I'm on campus with you, so my daily dose of CMOS, I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Yes.
All right. It's a little monetary cost now.
Oh yeah, CMOS gets expensive.
Yeah.
If you want to get real
Yes.
expensive, then you could start talking about Shilajit. That's what I take.
But like Jason said, it's very easy to make.
Mhm.
You get the plant. It's very easy to make. So
Just make sure you rinse it. Make sure you rinse
yeah,
it.
you gotta rinse it. And
Okay,
clean it
make
if
sure I rinse.
necessary.
Okay.
I've been doing it maybe for about 3 years now, so I make it. Okay, let's go to Virginia. Virginia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Virginia, question, comment?
I don't know. I don't have anything right now. I'm just enjoying the conversation.
Oh,
Thank you, Virginia.
thanks for
Okay.
coming.
Mhm.
All right, Professor Ra,
Can you hear me?
very good.
First of all, I want to say Abani Ghani to everyone on the Zoom. And I want to say, Jason, want to appreciate the work you're doing in trying
Yeah.
to improve people's lives from a health standpoint. We need more this training at an early age, of course. And you got to train parents to be more educated about not that being subliminally seduced into the advertising world of food. But I have a couple of questions because see, most of the people don't know it. Our parents unknowingly are the biggest food poison the kids' bodies at an earlier age and getting them addicted. The average baby is addicted to sweet soft beech nut apple juice, and things next. But there's a commercial that says they in a capsule it got vegetables and fruit. I can't remember the name of it. And I want to know if have you seen that commercial where they say if you can't eat your vegetables, you pills or these capsules. And maybe somebody else online has seen that commercial.
I've seen the commercial. I don't remember the product. If you can't eat your vegetables and then they give you supplement.
Yeah, that's supposed to be.
It's selling the supplement instead of the fresh food. Eat a supplement instead.
Yeah. I forget the name of it, but anyway, I want to know: are there supplemental herbs sold at health food stores or online that you know of that you would recommend or that you would not recommend?
Okay, so that actually takes me. There's a long journey I went through with that because of the people I've worked with. I had a lot of influence, and because of that, I have people approaching me from Herbalife to just all kinds of brands. And my whole thing with that is I can't support something or push something that I don't 100% believe in. And so I've never supported any supplement when it comes to nutrition based only solely based on ingredients. If there's something clean out there, then I would say yes. But a lot of times what happens with pills is that they need shelf life. And because they need shelf life, they have to use some type of stabilizer. And those stabilizers, they'll say, oh, it's organic, or like the newer ones now are saying it's organic, but they're being derived from something that's not organic. And legally, way the organic word has been legalized or legislated, they can get away with certain things to where it still has a process that is not organic and chemical based, but because it's not in the end products, they say, oh, there's trace amounts, so we won't count it. And to me personally, I'm more of a purist in that form. Like what you're talking about as a parent, now me being a parent to a 1.5-year-old, she eats all her vegetables. She doesn't have any added sugar. There's sugar in fruit and sugar and things, but she doesn't have any added sugar. There's a notice. I also have a 5-year-old brother-in-law. So he's an uncle to my daughter, but he's only a year, 3.5 years older. And he wasn't necessarily raised the way that he's being raised now. Their family's more taking on what I've kind of been walking in. And because of that, there is a noticeable shift in him and how he's acting before, or if he has a lot of sugar that's added versus when he's not. So it's important to say that why I'm saying any of this is that my baby eats greens. She eats basil off the little leaf. She'll eat it just raw basil. She eats sardines. She eats all these things, and I haven't had to force her at all. There's nothing about forcing any of it. It's just that I've made it available and I haven't given her any type of like the candies. There's no candies I'm giving her. Her candy is this. There's this stuff called a Cocoa. It's a probiotic coconut yogurt that only has 2 grams of sugar and none of it's added. And it's amazing for her gut. I noticed when she started it, when I got her taking it more, her bowel movements became regular and good, healthy bowel movements. There was nothing at all she's never been backed up. She's never had the constipation as a lot of my wife's friends and my friends that their kids are having. And it's just because of the diet. Like you're saying, diet is everything. And yes, sad to say, parents with our lack of knowing are poisoning our children. It's a sad reality, but it is because of the way people are marketed. And then we don't take it on ourselves to do the research because we weren't told it ourselves. But I'm one to say it's time to break cycles. It's time to not live as being the race in this country that dies so young from so many things that is not necessary. It truly isn't. To die from type 2 diabetes is sad to say, but truly self-imposed. If it was type 1, then I understand. That's hereditary. Type 2 is self-imposed, and we have to take ownership of that. We really do. And if we want to keep tiptoeing around that, we're going to continue to perpetuate the cycle that needs to be broken. Because there's no reason we should be dying sooner than others. There's no reason.
America is an obese society for the most part.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the addiction and food trends that we eat, we get it from America. Sometimes you have to choose to make right decisions, and many of it is not what America is offering you through their advertising and commercialization and selling food. But another question I have for you: when you go to the doctor, you get your blood work up, and they say you need protein. I think you can get it from fish, but then they recommend red meat. How do you respond to that when your blood work says you have deficiencies in certain levels of your genetic of your makeup, such as protein or calcium? You have too much calcium from drinking too much milk or eating too much cheese, or you have phosphorus problem. I mean, and they recommend the pills or foods that you really that are not grown food or natural food.
Well, for me, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, see, food additives is on top of the additives and the supplements that they give chickens and cows to grow and to grow. So you're getting a double. And see, when you get ketchup, you're getting the additives that go into ketchup. when you getting salsa, you're getting the additives that go in on top of the additives that's on the meal that you're eating. And so it complicates things. So my concern is that when you go to the doctor and they tell you need to eat more meat based on your blood workup, because once you get your blood work up, you have to go back to the doctor to get them to tell you what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can unless you know all that stuff. But how do you respond to people being recommended to increase their protein or cut down on their phosphorus or cut down on their calcium or something like that, and the doctors are telling them not to go to the garden, but go to the pharmacy. You
Well,
know,
a doc, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to, by the way they're trained, they're required. You understand, Western medicine is designed, to me, there's Eastern medicine, Western medicine. And what I think is important for Western medicine is very much a invasive, very aggressive. It's like the last straw for me personally. Eastern medicine is more of a everyday. You are healing yourself through your food. And to address not everybody's a vegan and not everybody is a meat eater. And so whatever avenue you go down is your choice. If you're going to go down the meat avenue, I don't think personally that meat is necessarily bad. It's what we've done to it. Because if you look at, like I said, going back to, I look at different parts of the world or at different times in history. If you look at the Native Americans, they followed the buffalo. And these buffalo weren't in a farm that were being fed certain foods. They were roaming wild, doing what buffalo were supposed to do. And so it was a quality of meat that they were eating. So this is what's hard about America right now. We have a hard time at getting nutrient dense and healthy meats or healthy vegetables or healthy food, period, because of what we've done as a consumeristic country. And because of that, it makes it hard for you to find the quality. If you're going to be a meat eater, it makes it hard to find the quality grass-fed, grass-finished. The fact that we even have to say grass-fed, grass-finished now is my whole issue with with where we're at right now. Why should I even have to say I got to find the right quality of meat? Why can't I just go buy the meat at Ralph's and it'd be good for me? Why do I have to then go and be this extra detective to find the right meat? But that is the state that we're in. And we can either address it or we can be mad at it. And for me, I've just looked to address it. Like if I'm going to eat meat, it has to be grass-fed, grass-finished from a farm that's biodiversity, that has a biodiverse farm. Now you're talking about the quality, and that's costly. That costs way more. So now we're talking about, where are we sacrificing? Are we sacrificing us going out and, having a couple drinks at night? Or are you going to a restaurant that you like to go to? If you're on a budget, where that becomes a real hard question to ask. And I don't necessarily have the answer for that. It's a real case by case. Where do your real responsibilities lie to yourself? Are you looking to really change your health? That means you got to make some sacrifices in other places if your budget doesn't allow. If you have the budget for it, and you're a meat eater, then you need to go get the high quality meat. If you're on the other end and you're a plant eater, then you need to start looking into sprouted vegetables and sprouted. So sprouted broccoli, when they're just sprouting, they're the most nutrient dense you can possibly get. And the best part about that, this is what I think, if you're going to be a vegan or a vegetarian, you should be a master sprouter and understanding how to do it. And sprouting only takes a week. It's a week cycle. And you can literally have your own, you don't even need a big place. You can have it like a 4x6 little countertop and just get a little light spray, maybe $150 to $200 setup. And after that setup, it just keeps turning over. And you will have so much nutrient dense proteins, fibers, manganese, magnesium, potassium, all the things that help you regulate your calcium. All these things will be there. And it's really simple, but look into sprouting. It's not that hard to set up. There's people online that are helping people set up now on YouTube, on Google it, on Instagram. For those who are on Instagram, there's people talking about, there's forums for it that talk about sprouting at home. And they're some of the best copper clean copper for your body needs copper as part of your hair, for your hair. You know, like, and basil has it. Like I just said earlier, dandelion greens, sprouted dandelion greens is amazing for you. And if you can do it, so simple. It's not even a hard thing to do. You just literally water it and let it sit there for 7 days, and then you can chop it off and start a new batch. And you got it year round. And there's all your macronutrients. Really simply done. It's not a crazy science to it. It's not some weird thing you got to figure out. It's very simple if you want to look into it. Sprouting, it's amazing to do. It's very simple, and it's something where you can start changing your levels if you have certain high levels of whatever it may be in your blood type.
Just a quick question: how much is your training?
I don't really have as much time as I used to. But anyway, it depends on how many sessions you get. But I can't even promise that right now because of how busy. I do commercial roofing, and we're about to get into our busy season. The rain's slowing down, and so I do help, but it's on a really tight basis. Like, I'm not able to get to many places.
Okay. All right. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Professor. Okay, Virginia did have a question. Virginia.
Hi, yes. The first question is about cilantro. So someone told me cilantro takes the metal out of your system. Is this true? Like
It's a detox. Yeah, so it is a detoxifier. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it is a detoxifier. Cilantro is a great one. Just be careful of juicing it. You don't want to overindulge in cilantro. But it is a great, if you're not juicing it and you're eating it, it's amazing. There's a big thing. Juicing became really popular, and it's really important to understand what you're doing when you juice. Because if you're juicing, you're taking out what I was just talking about earlier, which is inulin, the plant fiber, and sugar or the juice of it, and not the fiber of it, is not a good combo. God made it how it is. Eat it how it is. It's important to have it that way because you get the whole plant. It's a small version, but it's kind of what they do in Western medicine, where they find the enzyme or the protein or whatever it may be that allows for whatever to happen to get the effect, and then they just produce and concentrate that one thing, because that one thing they can then copyright, they can then put a patent on it, but they can't put a patent on a plant. They can put a patent on the enzyme in the plant because they've now synthesized it and they produce it from a pharmaceutical side. But if you just do it that way, it's real simple. So, celery is another one. It's a great one. Cilantro, celery, beets are great. Beets are great for your blood. If you want to also clean your blood, chlorophyll, not chloroform, chlorophyll is important. That's another one. That's great. It's got great copper in it. But yeah, cilantro is definitely one. Cilantro is one that I like. Just make sure you're getting good cilantro. Like that one, if it's cilantro, I'd want to go to a farmer's market to get it. Any type of herb, if you're not growing it at home, then I'd want to go to a farmer's market. I wouldn't want to get it at a grocery store.
Oh, okay. I got it at Whole Foods. But so I'm using it raw. I'm not putting it in juice. I like cut it up on top of my my food or whatever it is that I'm eating. I just started using it. But how long does it last? Like I'll put it in water, but I put it in the refrigerator because I have to refrigerate stuff here. I know usually you don't put vegetables and things in the refrigerator.
Yeah, that one. I mean, that's kind of by sight. But it should last. I mean, if you got it in water, it should last at least 5-6 days. If it's out of water, 2, 3, 4 days.
Right.
Maybe a week and a half if it's good water. If it's like tap water, some of the stuff in there might not work. Right. It might cause it to wilt faster.
Interesting. And the other thing I wanted to ask was about cod liver oil. How long does that last? So if I have a bottle of cod liver oil, it doesn't seem like I can use it all before the expiration date on the bottle or something.
Oh, I mean, it depends how much you're taking, but those cod liver oil, that lasts a long time. Like that's at least, like normally shelf life is like 1.5 years, 2 years on most of that stuff. Yeah,
Really?
it should have a expiration date. And if you bought some that didn't have that, they probably had it in storage for a while.
Okay, it has a date. That's another thing I got at Whole Foods, but I didn't know it lasts that long. And it's
Yeah,
and
it
you're
lasts
so
a long time,
correct.
especially in that form. Is it the green bottle from Whole Foods?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. The
yeah,
New Zealand cod liver oil.
yes.
Yeah, that's a great.
Oh,
I like that one. I used to take that one a lot.
oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All
Yeah,
right,
that's great.
thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brother Mashinda. Okay, Brother Hembrick.
But actually, and a side note for that cod liver oil, it's amazing for dogs. Just don't give too much. And how you can regulate how much is too much is it will change their poop. It becomes too runny if you're giving too much. But that's
Mm.
amazing for dogs. It actually helps with their cataracts. They start getting cataracts.
Oh, does it help for human cataract?
I mean, it won't hurt, but I know for specifically for dogs, I've done it and it actually was helping reverse it.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brother Hembrick. Brother.
Mute myself. Hey, appreciate your presentation, Brother Jason.
Thank you.
I am a type O positive blood, and I have the book, Eat Right for Your Type. I need to get
Uh-huh.
back to it. And, but over the years, I had been suffering from gout. And so, trying to regulate, the stuff that has less uric acid is a task in itself, because almost, everything has it. But I just mentioned this to Brother Rob before I forget when talking about the protein. You can get protein from beans. It doesn't have to be meat all the time. You can get protein from beans and nuts. But anyway, getting back to the question I have, you say you used to work for GNC, and I've
Yes.
been a Shackley customer, off and on for years. I wondered if you had any information on the Shackley, because what sold me on them was the non-fillers that are in the vitamins. I take multivitamin, B complex, garlic, E with selenium, C, zinc. I take D, calcium, magnesium, what's the one for prostrate? Salt palmetto,
Salt palmetto, yeah, yeah.
Lethian, omega red, and I take the alfalfa. I do that. I also have my own garden. I started a garden about 2 years ago. I'm trying to make it organic by adding, the organic compost, twice a year, and because my soil was terrible. So
What leaves are you using? Or
what
grass?
what grass?
Yeah, because I found like I do that at at my dad's place. He has property, and so we started turning over, and we were doing exactly that. But it's important because we were using at our first couple of years, we were using the wrong leaves. You got to know what leaves to use. Alfalfa is a great grass to use to help. And it's also important to know what other vegetables you're planting around, because certain vegetables and certain root vegetables work well together, and certain ones don't. Certain ones require the same. Some require nitrogen, some require more calcium, some require more phosphorus. So it's important to know which ones you're planting next to each other so they can help. So you create a ecosystem versus plants that are competing with each other.
Okay, well, usually after every harvest or whatever I grew, I put some more organic compost down before I plant the next crop. So it's getting, as far as grass in the compost, I don't know. I don't do my own compost. I just go buy it from a nursery.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, okay.
That's where I'm doing it. What other question did I have?
I'm looking at their website right now, and
Exactly.
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. They do have be mindful what oils are in there or what like I see they have soybean oil and titanium dioxide in some of their stuff they use. They use xanthan gum, they use xylitol. They use, if you have a protein, they use concentrate in some of their products. They just gave me a list of everything that I'm looking at their whole list. So I don't know what's in exactly each one of those items that you listed, but you should look at the back of those bottles and see what's exactly in there. Be mindful of anything that has a gum, anything that has yeast, because yeast can cause candida. And that's a whole nother topic about inflammation, the candida. That can cause a lot of things. Xylitol is a sweetener. That's what they put in a lot of times you see in gums because it creates a lot of sweetness. It's not as bad as like, what was the old one? The old sweetener. I can't even think. It was back in like the late 90s and 2000s.
Sweet and low, sucrose.
Yeah, sweet and low. Thank you, sweet and low. It's not as bad as sweet and low, but it is on that same path. So be mindful because it makes things sweet, but it's not necessarily derived from plants.
Well, I've had a lot of success with the Shackley over the years. I used to be a real big guy back in the day. And this guy was teaching me how to play golf, and he kind of got me on it. And it took about 3-4 years before I listened to him. And I finally got on it, and I lost so much weight. You know, people thought I was smoking cocaine or something. I lost it. But anyway, every time I, go and get blood work done, everything's in order.
Good.
For the vitamin D3, they always say I'm deficient in that. Although that's a part of the Shackley that I take. So they gave me a pill that's supposed to last for a week from the pharmacy that I use also. But anyway, this book, Eat Right for Your Blood Type, it mentions, a certain meats, because of my blood type.
Exactly.
Red meat, I stay away from because of the uric acid that causes the gout. So I wonder if you had any knowledge in that regard.
Are you okay with outside of red meat, fish?
Yeah,
like
I'm a deep sea fisherman. I eat
likewise.
And I kind of got with turkey, to get away from the beef and the pork. But I hear the turkey now. Ground turkey doesn't bother me as much, but when I eat it sliced, it tears me up with gout also. So I'm really trying to get away from that too.
I mean, you can get away with just eating fish. There are cultures that only ate fish because fish, as long as you're eating the skin as well.
Well, I usually get it filleted when I'm on the boat coming in. I have them fillet it for me. But there are certain fish. I got a cousin that sent me this chart about uric acid, and I found out of the fish that I was catching in the ocean is full of uric acid. So I slowed down on that too.
So you got to be mindful of which fish eat a lot of other fish. The more a fish eats a lot of other fish, the more it's going to store that. So you don't want to eat fish that have like for shark, on the extreme side, shark eats a lot of other fish, therefore their mercury level is high, the uric acid is high. So being mindful of the lighter fish like the halibut, being mindful of certain sea bass or rock cod or lingcod or cabezons. They're a little bit lighter. And so, like I said, everybody is different, but it's important to always do your research, one. And two, be mindful of what you're saying right now, be mindful of what you're eating. But like I said, do your research in that aspect. But I know for me, at least, I eat only halibut, cabezons, and it's certain rockfish, which are like the cabezons, the sea bass, and lingcod.
Yeah, I test some rockfish up and sea bass.
What about salmon?
Salmon's right in the middle. It can be testy for some people. It's just mass sold and marketed, which is why it's readily available for everybody. But salmon is it's not on the high level as far as quality of like clean fish. It's right in, if you would say like a green, orange, or green, yellow, red, it's in the yellow. It's a closer to green yellow, but it's still a yellow. especially if it's farmed. You shouldn't be eating any farmed anything. If you do your research and look at what's going on in the farming, even if it says farmed in the ocean, there's a huge pandemic about sea lice. Look into sea lice and farm and ocean farm fish, because they're like, people say, oh, it's in the ocean, it's farmed, but it's in the ocean. Look into ocean sea lice and farming in the ocean. That'll blow your mind when it comes to like how nasty it actually is.
So everything wild caught. Is that what you're saying?
Not just wild, it has to be wild caught, but not ocean, because they'll say it's in the ocean, so it's technically wild, but it's in a farm base. So you make sure it's wild caught, not in a farm, in the ocean. Be mindful. Just like I said, like I always say, read the labels, read the ingredients, but wild caught for sure.
Okay. I don't think we heard from Miss Odom. Miss Odom?
No.
Hi.
Before she speaks, this is how we got started with Jason when Jason came on her show. And I don't know if you were on, Kyle, when he talked about the dream that he had about his dad, and that's what got on the healing spiral for his dad from prostate cancer.
Yeah, I was on there. I heard that.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yep, that's a great story. There's just one thing I would like to share. I don't, I try to do everything natural as far as anything for my body, for any disease or anything. So one of my friends is a Native American, and I had been struggling with high blood pressure and didn't want to take any synthetic drugs. And I eat pretty good. My thing is I like cake and pies and those kind of things, but just in general, my eating habits are pretty good. I try not to eat processed food, fried foods, or any of that. But I had talked to her about my blood pressure, and there is a tea that they use in their culture. It's called Labrador or swamp tea. And she got some of the leaves from one of the medicine men in her tribe, and I started drinking it. She's like, make up a gallon, drink a cup in the morning and then a cup later on in the day. And within 3 days, my blood pressure was great. My blood pressure had been like 176 over 114 or something like that. And now my blood pressure is like normal. Sometimes it could even be a little low, so I have to watch to make sure that I'm just drinking a cup and not overdoing it. But, I had no side effects, and it's just drinking tea. And I mean, I'd rather drink tea twice a day the rest of my life than put something in my body and I really don't know what it is. And I'm making the tea myself. So she gave me the leaves. I had to boil the leaves for 20 minutes and then let it steep and then drain it off. And then that's what I used. And she even gave me 2 resources so that if she doesn't go up north to a ceremony or anything, I can still get those Labrador leaves or swamp leaves and make my tea. So I just wanted to share that with people, because I know in our culture, we suffer with high blood pressure. And there are things out there that you can do and you don't have side effects or have synthetic drugs in your body. That's it.
That's amazing, because that's I haven't used that leaf before. But my dad had high blood pressure and we got him off of that doing a tea as well. And he said the same thing. He goes, I'd rather take a tea than a pill, because the pill was causing his throat to get dry and all kinds of things were starting to happen to the side effect. The side effects of blood pressure pills are ridiculous. And that's exactly what he does. He takes a tea every day. If you can't, say that leaf one more time. You said Labrador?
Labrador.
Labrador.
Or you can even Google Labrador or swamp tea. Both of them come up.
Okay.
I'm looking at that right now.
Ms. King, did you have any last words?
Oh,
I did not. I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, and what the tea does, I forgot to say that. What the tea does is it balances anything in your body that's out of balance. So you can use it for other things. I just used it for high blood pressure, but my friend said it actually is used to balance anything that's out of balance in your body.
It says right here, Labrador tea is a plant that leaves flowers, shoots, and are used to make medicine. People take Labrador tea for sore throats, chest congestion, coughs, lung infections, and other chest ailments. They also take for diarrhea, kidney problems, joints, muscle pain, headache, blood pressure, cancer. So yeah, their benefits are a lot. I've never worked with it, so I can't speak on it.
Okay. Can you get it from like the Whole Food market or natural market in your area?
No. Let me just see what's, believe it or not, I think she told me 2 different places on Etsy. Just a
Okay.
minute. I'm getting ready to pull it up and see what she told me. Yeah, they're both on Etsy. One of the places is called Running Bear Medicine. You can get to the tea from that. And maybe this is the same place. Let me see. Yeah, that's the only, and OjibwaNatural.com. And it's OJIB natural.com. You can also get the tea.
And those are both on Etsy?
No, the first one, the Running Bear Medicine, is on Etsy, but the other one is just a website.
It's
OjibwaNatural.com. And it's a leaf. It's a one side looks kind of brown, the other side looks kind of green. And so you just take the whole leaf to make your tea.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I had another, Jason, if I may.
Say again?
I had another quick question.
Yes, sir.
Cumin and turmeric. What's the benefits of the herbs, and about how much should a person be consuming?
So what I did for my dad and his blood pressure, it was turmeric, black pepper, cayenne, garlic with a little bit of apple cider vinegar and a little bit of Celtic sea salt. And he would take 2 of those, 2 teaspoons. Either you could have it straight, or you could put a little bit of water, dilute it, and with lemon, and then you boil all that together, make exactly what you're saying with the tea, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and let it steep, and then you jar it up and you have it. What it does is it's a natural anti-inflammatory, and it also is a vasodilator, which allows your blood vessels to open. It allows for your blood pressure to come down. If you add cinnamon, that's another one. Hibiscus teas, another one that's amazing for blood pressure. But like she was saying, be mindful of how much you take, because too much is too much. And if you're, especially because for my dad, we were weaning him off of his blood pressure pills against the doctor's orders, to be completely forthright. We were going against what he was saying, but what I was doing with my dad is I would cut. So he was taking a pill and a half. So we started with just doing a pill and a quarter and a little bit of the tea. And we would do that for like a week or 2 and see where his blood pressure was going. As it started to drop, then we would go to 1 pill and doing the tea. And then we slowly got it to where eventually he felt safe, or had the courage, or whatever you want to say, you know what, maybe I can just try this tea and not these pills. And that was, I don't know now, 5-6 years ago. And he hasn't been on a pill since. He doesn't take any pills. He's 60, he'll be 67 this year. And he takes no pills, no anything.
And
Oh, but make sure if you're going to do just the turmeric, make sure you add the black pepper, because black pepper is what activates turmeric. If you just take turmeric without black pepper, it won't activate in the body. It's just like having the beans. You're talking about earlier about the beans. Beans by themselves is an incomplete protein, but beans with the carb, with the grain, I like quinoa, because quinoa has a higher protein value than rice. So if you did quinoa and beans, that is a complete protein, and you're getting double the protein, because quinoa is a protein as itself, and beans are a protein, and it also completes the protein. And so you're getting a full protein chain. That's what I would say. Just add in, if you do rice, then do the rice. But if you're really hurting for protein, add the quinoa to the beans.
Okay, now what?
Okay.
All right, folks, we're gonna have to take our pause this evening. We are coming up on an hour and a half, and
Oh, Jesus.
no, but it's good. We normally sometimes we done went 2 hours, but
Okay.
we can we definitely want you back, Jason.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
And
Yeah.
and Dr. Randolph,
Yes.
you always do a great job. And is there anything you want to say before we leave?
I want to say thank you. And I'm so excited about how these communities are coming together. When Jason talked about community and prayer, and there's a community that existed here for 3 years, and you've welcomed the communities and how we're coming together, because the conversations have been dynamic. And with the change in the conversation, we have different things to talk about. What we're going to do for health, where we're going to walk, where, take off our shoes and get in the grass and get in the sand. And we have that opportunity here in Southern California, and everyone's welcome to come and visit us. And one day we can all see each other live. Like one of the groups that my friend is a part of, and he's a grower. I would like to have a conversation with him. And when we come back in a couple of weeks, I want a conversation with Cleo King. And we want to just keep growing this community, and communities coming together to have a different conversation than the old conversation about where the best fried chicken is.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So next week's guest is Melvin Mercer Jr. He's a licensed clinical social worker. And the topic is, he posed a question. I'm well when? That's the question. And then after that, it's maintaining our mental wellness. So that's the topic for next week. And you guys are always welcome here. It's open to the public, and you don't only have to show up when Dr. Randolph is here. So appreciate everybody coming out this evening. We're going to take our pause, each one teach one in Conscious Corner. Have a great evening.
Thank you.